good evening, and good afternoon, Free Enterprise. It's not used to a matinee. I'm Commander Leonhardt, along here with LM Motos, and we have another exciting table race for you here between Frostbite3030 and CoffeeAndChocobos. Frostbite is 0-1 after a tough loss to Dia, and CoffeeAndChocobos is a balanced 1-1 after falling to Penguinator and managing to get past Scratch Dragon. LM Motos, how do you think today's match is going to go?
Well, I think at this point in the tournament, every match is going to be very hard fought. There's really no easy matches available for any of our players anymore. In fact, these two are the last of their groups still remaining in the tournament. Frostbite came from Ultima, and CoffeeAndChocobos came from Veil 4. So they have the group pride on the line here as well. And the objectives aren't going to let them have a super quick match today. We don't have any moon objectives, but the amount of key items that we're going to have to see in order to enable these objectives to be complete definitely makes it very unlikely to not see the moon. I mean, I don't want to lead it, but we need a Luca key, a Baron key, a Pan, a Legend Sword, or an Adamant. We need some combination of those key items in order to get 3. So Underground Access is going to be what our players are looking for as fast as possible.
Yeah, completely agree. And I'm sure they're happy to see that Palom start. Find your Black Mage, find the Black Mage that learns Quake quickly, and that'll at least help. But can't take any seed in this flag set lightly. There's a lot going on.
Yeah, especially with Permajoin, you don't want your starting character to be one that you don't like to see, because out of everything, the character that you are forced to take is the initial character. So if you're going to get stuck with someone, you want it to be someone like a heavy physical attacker or a Black Mage, so that you know it's someone you were probably going to take anyways.
Or Bay. Start me with Bay every time.
Yeah, Rosa helps. White Mage available right at the beginning. You're probably going to take her in the regardless. But we are seeing a lot of players go through the seeds with either 2 or 3 players in the party before they manage to decide what the last 2 characters they want are. So getting early power is becoming really, really important in these table seeds.
Yeah, if you're able to knock out a lot of checks and get closer to your go mode, with only a few characters, you have that flexibility to pick up somebody strictly for the end game. There are a few people that greatly benefit from not being in your party right up until they get slingshot. Having that gap open is nice. But here we go. Palom's going to find Tella, and the CPU will be handing over the hook.
Okay, so it's nice to know at least some Underground Access is available as well, although we definitely would have liked to see the Magma Key, or at least the players would have liked to see the Magma Key. Tella is extremely useful. That's going to pretty much guarantee we go to Ordeals.
Yeah, Ordeals on the menu. Without Ordeals, Tella does still have Exit and Early Life, and that's wonderful and useful, but he really picks up steam once he remembers all of his other spells, Weak, chief among them, but also Berserk and Blink.
Yeah, and you'd be surprised how far some televiruses will get you in the early game as well.
True, and Mr. Bus Driver pointing out correctly that Blink Tella knows without touching Ordeals, which is also here.
Yeah, otherwise we'll be scraping for illusions, which are kind of harder to find in this the shop set. We are seeing pretty standard opening gambits here from our players. We see Rydia in Castle Damcian. We get a look at Dark Knight Cecil here in the Watery Pass. Frostbite is opting to make that cutscene happen just to send that Cecil to the Tower of Wishes in case he wants to pick him up later. And doing some looting here in the Watery Pass, which we've also learned to find in this tournament. You didn't used to see this a lot, but because of the way the treasure routing goes, it's not as useful here in table flags as it was in the group flags, but still worth some early looks.
And Frostbite's not making a huge dive, just wandering to check the waterfall and exits out. Meanwhile, CoffeeAndChocobos made it into the waterfall, saw one blue sprite immediately come in from the left. That was enough to let him know that Alt Gauntlet is in water.
Yeah, we have seen a lot of our players not leaving any stone unturned here as far as the optional bosses. A badly placed Demus that ends up being required could spell doom if you didn't check just an easy check boss spot. That a couple of seconds to check it is definitely worth it.
Sylph in the chest for Coffee and Chocobos. It would be nice if he decides he wants to lean on radio.
And we can see here, this is not unexpected from Coffee and Chocobos. Going to Cave Eblin, wants to check the character. We have been seeing a lot of emphasis from our runners now in the table flags on knowing what characters are available as early as possible. You can see he didn't even check the Eblin shop, which I can expect he'll check at some point. Never skip the Eblin shop, I always say. But we will get the character here. Oh, it's another Palom. This could be excellent for our runners, in fact.
And that is either a vanilla Rubicon or elements at the hook route. And that's also probably something Coffee and Chocobos wanted to know. If he can't find a magma key, how rude is that hook route going to be?
I can definitely consider Coffee dumping this Palom and then picking up later to Slingshot, but we'll see if he takes him here. Oh. Okay, so yeah, we got two twins here.
Get your twin magic online, and you've got more firepower to help carry. Alan doesn't need as much XP as Rydia to learn Nuke, so the slingshot's nice, but not quite as mandatory.
Yeah, and with Bacchus wines being very hard to come by on these flags, we are seeing a lot of players lean towards reflex strats for Zeromus if they can get the black mages. So being able to see two twins and Tella right out the gate is extremely advantageous for our runners as far as planning their endgame.
I'm seeing some impressive loot in Eblin Cave, not just for this party, but for possible future characters. I've seen Sorcerer Robe, I've seen an Hourglass 2, a Ninja Sword, a Cat Claw, and a Bandana so far.
And here comes the shop checks for Coffee. Gonna sell a little bit here. Ooh, not keeping some of that equipment. Wants instead some mute arrows. I don't disagree with that. They're surprisingly effective for some of the bosses that we haven't seen yet. Gets a curse ring from the armor shop as well.
Yeah, curse ring, the big find. Tella is pretty manageable as an anchor, but once you find that cursed ring, all bets are off. You can level him through every fight you get your hands on and still have a solid anchor.
Yeah, and we do grab the one swag Soma drop for Tella. That's to enable him to cast an extra weak spell during your level grind.
Yeah, going from 90 to 100 is your swag meteo, but it also puts you Tella at being able to cast 4 weeks instead of 3, with them being 25 MP each, and that just means you need a little bit less in the way of resources to fuel that popular D-Machine grind.
And Coffee has now gotten all the information he wanted from Cave Eblin and is now going to the more standard Antlion check here. Pretty treasure rich, although it's low tier, and also an easy boss to get a key item check out of the way.
Yeah, and we'll be seeing both of those things shortly. And you're going to get through the fight here pretty easily, but this is definitely the sort of fight you'd rather find in a ruder spot. Maybe at the end of the sealed cave when you still have an hourglass.
Yeah, it really hurts when you find an easy fight like this at an easy boss position. It kind of wastes the ease.
Yeah. But on the other hand, you got through your first fight. You got Ice 2 on both of the prodigies, so that's not a bad thing. And a Protect Ring is not progression, but it's solid defensive gear.
Yeah, it is nice. Once again, you'd be surprised how much gear can make you decide what your final party is going to be. Just knowing that you have the magic defense available to allow a little lower levels for Threemus can make or break some character decisions.
Yeah, and Protect Ring definitely qualifies. Good numbers on both the physical and magical side, and all around fire, lightning, ice, elemental resistance. CoffeeAndChocobos has no interest in that Cecil, not even bothering to send him off to Mysidia. Resets right out.
Meanwhile, Frostbite is finding the characters at Mysidia, which happens to be Kane and Porum. So we do have a White Mage available, which is nice. You're not going to have to rely on Cure 3s unless you don't take the White Mage. And Frostbite also did buy some Mute Bells from the shop here on purpose. That's in case of a potential necessary Warlock grind on the moon.
And CoffeeAndChocobos has found his own Porum over on Hobbs with Dark Knight Cecil. Justice has apparently migrated to a different mountain today.
Someday you will see Cecil where you don't want to see him. We are seeing the looting of the back of Hobbs as well. It just goes to show how much our players are kind of loot starved. This would not be a normal location that would be worth the time, but it's looking like, ooh, especially with the empty flag, only getting 2 treasure chests. Charm Arrow is kind of a nice pickup, but the rest not so much. Teleshowing is worth with Exit as well, though.
Mm-hmm. One of the nice things about Exit, you're able to dive for a few more chests, and there are probably chests in higher value locations, given the utility that Exit offers. Now it is Fabul time for CoffeeAndChocobos. With Pan being an objective, if a runner wants to fade Fabul, that's probably motivation to do so, but some people definitely do not fade Fabul and get it out of the way.
Yeah, especially since you already know that you have underground access, I might be tempted to fade it so that I can, considering that Pan is also one of the objectives, so you know you're going to have to come to Fabul. It'd be nice if you didn't have to double dip it, but double dipping for just the defense isn't that bad.
Yeah. A lot of people are a lot more concerned about double dipping Sylph Cave and making that walk. But I find it hard to leave a freebie on the table. And Berserk now making a good point in chat. If you know you're up against Rubicante or elements in the hook route, you might want all the XP you can get.
Yeah, I would not be surprised to see either of our runners go to Castle Eblin and fight some of those trap chests just to eke out a few more levels. Getting some upper level black magic could be key to getting through the hook route.
Well, Mylon and friends taken down without much trouble, and it's time to see what the item is for the Fabul defense.
Oh, wow, and that pays off there. That Luca key is going to enable one of our objectives once we get underground, so very nice pickup from Fabul defense just sitting there at the beginning of the game.
Yeah, nice move taking it out early, and it pays off.
Now we'll see if Frostbite makes the same decision. Looks like he's also heading to Fabul and going to get that knowledge as well.
Yeah, our runners have covered pretty much the same ground in a little bit different order, and CoffeeAndChocobos has handled it just a little more efficiently, and he's been able to put that into a small lead. We'll see if how long he's able to hold on to it and when the divergence happens.
Still looking around, shopping. Armor checks right now. We're looking for basically high magic defense items that will help. Maybe the odd glass helm in the case that we have to fight some physical bosses, but especially considering we know, or we kind of know, what one of the bosses in the hook route is, we're looking for some magic defense for sure.
Yeah, and I agree. That's probably what CoffeeAndChocobos is looking for. I'm sure he'd be very happy to snap up a couple of Gaia helms real fast, but defense, the order of the day would be shot.
Now we're finally going to get a look at Mount Ordeals with its 3 boss checks. Like we said, this is pretty much required at this point because they need Tella to get the full spell set. It's an Edward. We're not going to be seeing anybody taking him at this moment, I do not believe. But we will get a check on these bosses here shortly, as well as Tella getting his full spell set once they're through. And the Cecil that's hanging out at the Tower of Wishes will become a paladin as well, although that probably will not pop up unless we find a good weapon for him.
Yeah, at least an Excalibur, and for either of our runners, the Excalibur might not even be enough. They might be hoping for Crystal. We've got a Plague in the first spot. And CoffeeAndChocobos gets a quick Star Veil off in this slow spot, and will be reflecting place count back.
This is a great strategy, although Plague will be using count every turn. It does mean that you basically are 100% safe here because Plague sees that one of your party members doesn't have count. Therefore, it tries to count you. It just bounces off again, meaning that you will never see your count go down to 0 for your other 2 characters.
Yep, and you're just free to take out the location normally. Well done.
Yeah, it was pretty nice that Coffee knew he could get that Star Veil off in time, or had the execution to get that Star Veil off in time. It really makes you have to mess around with less on this fight, because usually you'd be, killing characters and resurrecting them to make the count reset, and here he just doesn't. He just gets to keep attacking.
Yep, and with the Prodigy showing off level 2 elemental magic, won't be too long. We see Frostbite following the same path right down to making sure to stop by Silvera on the way to Ordeals.
Yeah, and I think this is the proper play. The only other place to go right now is Baron Inn, and you really don't have any incentive to go there rather than here.
Yeah, and with telling your party you have strong incentive to come here.
Well, that's a Demus, so now we're getting a lot of extra content here.
We have the bonus round enabled. Since we don't have free key items on, we have to move Edward's key item somewhere, and we tuck that behind Demist and the location of Rydia's mob at Villages.
Yeah, this is definitely rewarding, especially since our players pretty much had to come here, so they don't have to hunt around for this if it's gaining something that they actually needed.
Frostbite not opting for the Veils. Looks like he's just going to kamikaze Tella and probably a quick revive afterwards. And a few applications of Twin Magic should get the job.
Yeah, a little bit of a swag bluff on the top Palom before that Twin went off to kind of up the damage.
And bluff is good for plus 15 to the Wisdom stat until the battle is over. And at these levels, that's a significant boost. That other count, granted, the battle was not in danger of being lost. So in a way, it's convenient that one Twin fell to the count before it was reapplied. Frostbite didn't have to take out another of the party members, just a convenient life, and everything is back.
Yeah, and you can see those bluffs doing work there, because the way Twin works is it works on the same sort of like order of operations as the ATB system. So there is a Twin whose stats the Twin spell uses. It's not some combination of the two. So using the bluff really increased the damage of that comet by quite a bit.
And Frostbite is entering the demist fight just as CoffeeAndChocobos is leaving it. And we'll get a look ahead. Frostbite realizing, oh, I used up all of my MP on the Twin spells in the last fight, and I have no way to deal with this demist. Quick reset. Don't hate a pass. All of the objectives are on Earth. We'll be finishing up on Earth. And finding elements in here is some pretty bad news, because now we know that we have Rubicante in the vanilla spot on the hook route.
Yeah, that's not what our runners wanted to see. You would think the elements would be the more difficult fight, but it is not at all. So we'll see how they deal with it. I mean, they do have some upper level black magic online for their Palums, but I didn't see level 3 spells yet, which is what we're really looking for. So Tella is going to have to be doing some major work on the way down this hook route.
Yeah, you're dealing with 25,000 hit points worth of fun and games there. And if you're relying on those elemental spells, your timing had better be on point, because when that cloak is closed, you're going to be healing with those ice 3s. You can fire non-elemental spells to your heart's content, but you're not going to get the heavy hits that a well-timed ice 3s.
Yeah, and this is where we're going to have to see what the strategies are for these players as far as how they're going to prepare for this hook route. We do have Baron Inn remaining, and we do have Trap Chest in Castle Eblin remaining, and in Cave Eblana, the Stoneman Chest. So we'll see if they kind of go for a little bit of EXP before they go, or if they're just going to try to get through with what they have now.
And there's still 2 chances to find a Magma Key and be spared that Rubicante fight. There's still a demist check, and there's still Baron Inn waiting, and it's also possible that those could chain into eventually landing the magma, but right now those are the 2 paths, other than the hook.
Frostbite also grabbing that pass now from Ordeals, which is good. I mean, it doesn't help us right now, but as far as the end of the game, that's going to help quite a bit, especially if it turns out that we don't have to go to the lunar subterrane for anything else.
CoffeeAndChocobos has committed to his team. We have Tella, Palom, Second Palom, Aurum, and Kane.
This is actually the earliest I've seen a player in this phase of the tournament fill out their entire party.
Same, but I do like the team. You show a hard commitment to reflect strats for Zeromus. You have Kane around to solve things that mages can't solve, especially Valvalis, and you have the utility of Tella. I agree, it's very early, but this is a solid party.
Yeah, I would have liked to see a little bit better of an item in hand for Kane first, as far as his weapon, but you don't have anybody else to suck up any heavy armor that you find, so you can slap whatever you get onto him. He works for that. And also, he's got quite a lot more HP than the mages, so even if it comes down to it and he doesn't help you much otherwise, he can at least be throwing items during the Zeromus fight for you.
Chemist Kane is not something you see every day, but worse things have happened.
Yeah, he is a great target to be the bearer of the Reflect in the Zeromus fight as well, just because you can't... Oh, whoa, we get the Adamant ore from that missed check. That demist really... Ordeals had it all for us today. Very nice payout.
Pass and the path to Adamant. And, of course, getting Tella online. Yeah, great mount ordeals. Coffee and Chocobos naturally going for their last hope, his last hope to not face Rubicante. Frostbite, as has been typical in the race, hot on his heels.
And we will see what this Moon Sparkle is. It looks like we get Ogopogo. Very nice to see Ogopogo in this spot. You definitely do not want to see this boss at a higher HP spot. It just becomes kind of difficult to deal with. And, we still have King Queen Evelyn spot in the hook route as well. That would have also been very rude to see an Ogopogo there.
Oh, yeah. Ogo there. Very nasty. All sorts of things that can go wrong facing Ogo in various spots. But here, casual. Followed by Odin.
Ooh, this is now... Oof, this is dicey.
Yeah, the spot hits hard enough that everybody's going to be feeling it, and you're looking at trying to get 4,000 in hit points done. But if another Lightning 2 goes off, we're golden.
Oof, there we go. I was getting worried, but Coffee gets through it no problem. And Frostbite literally right behind. And has to take a reset, though, because Frostbite has one less Black Mage right now than Coffee does. We get a Sand Ruby there, not too shabby. Although, for Coffee, it doesn't mean a thing because he's already filled his party up.
The only thing it means is one closer to 10 key items, which, given these objectives, isn't out of the question, but certainly is never a guarantee on this one. We only need to knock out 3 of these objectives. It's not unusual at all to hit go mode without finding 10. And Coffee and Chocobos is able to demonstrate the advantage of the filling out your party early. You can start knocking out checks with much greater efficiency.
Ooh, does manage to find Ethers in Troya as well. That's going to be quite relevant for the upcoming level grind, or I should say eventual level grind. Like we said, we're going to be relying on Tello for the weak spell, and he only can cast it 4 times, even with that Soma drop. You need some Ethers or a way to refill his MP during the battle, or else you kind of have to cut it short, which eliminates the entire reason why we are manipulating a D-Machine grind in the first place.
Yeah, I think I saw a Lilith Rod earlier, which is better than nothing, but Ethers are the ideal way. Anybody can take that action.
And we see Frostbite making a decision here as well. Going to the Tower of Wishes is going to be picking up at least one character here.
Yeah, that Baron End fight just a bit much for these 3 people alone. He needs some help.
Wow, and opting for literally the exact same party that Coffee picked up.
It's a solid party. I can't hate it.
Yeah, I think, the name of the game in these table flags is using every scrap of resources that you get in your seed to your advantage. And I think here you're right that this party is basically, you really can't wait around to see what the Moon character or Dwarf Castle character is at this point. And if this is what the game has given you, you got to take it.
No, there's something to be said for being flexible, but you can definitely fall into the trap of waiting too long, keeping your options open, and leaving yourself in a bad position where you can't even work your way through. Good job by both of these runners recognizing the situation, and that while the party might not have been 100% everything they wanted it to be, if you told them at the beginning, hey, this will be your final party, they probably would have just both nodded and said, all right, that's fine.
Yeah, this is where the timing on that Rubicon fight coming up is going to be really important, because nailing all of your ice spells while the cape is open is going to make or break the fight. And because they're not going to get too many chances of the cape being open before their party goes down.
There'd be two things that would be really nice to find in the chests here. One of them would be some Dragoon armor item, and the other would be a Blizzard Spear. And the reason I'd like that particular combination is that Dragoon armor provides fire resistance, among others, and if you pair that with a Cursed Ring, suddenly you're being healed by all fire damage. Add a Blizzard Spear to that, and sure, the Cursed Ring is going to hurt the damage a bit, but you have no fear now of Kane losing the fight, and you can jump to your heart's content. And any work that anyone else does is a nice bonus.
We had a question in chat. Ryben said, what happens if you twin with 3+ twins in your party? It will use the twin that you did the command with and the next twin in the ATB to use that twin. So it will use 2 twins. It doesn't use all 3.
And as Moltos pointed out earlier, it will use the order priority position to determine the wisdom stat for the power of the spell.
And it looks like Frostbite is back to that Odin and has managed to stay up here. We'll see if the sword raises. Kane is not doing too much work, but there's a lit 3 from Tella. That should end it. Oof. 6K, boom. The old man can put it out when weaknesses are involved.
Yeah. Tella's casting stats might not be the greatest, but as you said, if he can get a hold of an elemental weakness, he can show off. Tella's showing off his utility side on Coffee and Chocobos, landing size on the Mad Ogres and completely negating the threat.
And we can see, even with that unfortunate wipe and having to go get the party filled out for Frostbite, he's still not that far behind Coffee. I mean, he's just got to walk through Cave Evelyn and then basically will be caught up while Coffee does his Mad Ogres. Now, I don't think that Frostbite is going to skip the Mad Ogres chest because the EXP is really too tantalizing right now to pass up for anybody. And I am surprised to not see any Castle Evelyn checks, but it looks like our runners are feeling quite confident that they can get the levels they need just with the Mad Ogre chest.
I feel like you want some more hit points and general all-around stats. Also, it could be nice to get to Virus and or Quake on Alums in the party so that they don't have to worry about that opening and closing of cloak issue.
Yeah, and getting a good job with these life glitches here. Gonna be getting quite the payout from this chest.
Moltos, Frostbite went to Coffee and Chocobo, went to Fable right behind Coffee and Chocobos, right? And so has a Luca key?
Yeah, that's true.
Okay. Just Cracker doing the right thing, checking in chat, and I wasn't 100% sure myself.
Now Coffee is out with the chunk of EXP from that check and is still checking the treasure chest. Ooh, there's a guy ahead. Does get paid off a little bit there. We were talking about magic defense being important before, and that's you would think it's kind of a mid-game item, but it actually has a bigger stack of magic defense on it than you would expect from where you find it in the vanilla game.
Yeah, and it also has value on offense. It gives +3 to wisdom, which doesn't sound great, until you consider that unless you're one of the ladies that can wear a tiara, it's literally your only option as a male user of black.
Yeah, we'll see how Frostbite is wanting to progress here by how many chests he opens here in Cave Eblin. If we don't see him opening any chests, that means he's not worried about equipment enough to stop. And actually, he looted it earlier. That's right.
Ooh.
Oh no! It's actually Evil Wall at King and Queen spot. There?
Oh, there's the rudeness. You know who'd be great about now?
Evil Wall at King and Queen and Vanilla Rubicante. This is one of the worst hook routes they could get.
It is. I understand that their party's full, and I get it. But anyone that has one slot open can have a pretty sizable advantage right now by immediately turning around, exiting out, and grabbing Edward.
Yeah, this is rough because there's nowhere else to go. Like, there's no hope of a magma key to save us. We've checked everything that's available now, so our runners have to deal with this Evil Wall. And if that means gonna have to do a mini grind here in Upper Babel, that's what they're gonna have to do.
Yeah, the reason we're talking about Edward, in case anyone's unaware, is that if you hide Edward, once everyone falls down, every time Evil Wall advances and sees there's no one to swing, Evil Wall hits himself. And the damage versus the hit points in this location means you can actually have Evil Wall destroy itself before you get to that crush phase.
Yeah, it's the weird quirk of the game when he tries to cast Crush, but his target basically disappears. The game has this weird, basically under the hood, the battle system acts very strangely, and Evil Wall will crush itself.
Yeah, you do have to get it off the damage hits. If he gets to crush phase, he will not insta-kill himself. That would be very convenient. He will just sit there staring at you like, I can do this all day. I'm just a wall, I'm not going anywhere. And at that point, you can either unhide and accept your fate or just reset. CoffeeAndChocobos doing some good work with some blinks. He can get enough blinks up and keep his big damage sources alive. That seems to me the very clear path for this.
Yeah, I just wonder if this party's fast enough to do it. So we'll have to see. Both of these runners are going to have to figure out a way through this. And talking about the weirdness in the battle system, that's also why when you fight a boss like D-Lunars, you can actually make them frog themselves, even though you would not be able to land a frog spell on them. It's just weirdness with the boss bit.
And Fossomorphy is pointing out, rightly so, that the curse ring is huge here. The curse ring is allowing everyone other than Tella to have turns just as fast as the Evil Wall, or nearly as fast. Evil Wall is a bit of a cheater, but that's much better than a vanilla agility setup where Evil Wall would be stepping 2 or 3 times before people's turns start coming.
This virus has to do it for Coffee, or that's the last of the blink.
And we see cheating Evil Wall takes a second turn before the virus goes off, and bam.
Frostbite is now getting through the Mad Ogre fight, has used stop on some of them rather than the mini technique that Coffee showed up, but is going to be getting EXP from this as well. And then we'll be continuing on to this rather rude awakening down at the bottom.
Yeah, this could very well be by itself what makes or breaks this seed, as is so often the case on a rude hook route. It tests our runner's abilities, and whoever's able to get through it first can have a sizable advantage when all is said and done.
Yeah, I mean, if Frostbite gets down here and can one-shot Evil Wall, that's a significant time savings over Coffee. You can see the speed of this evil wall is really rough. By the time a blink gets off, a couple of characters are already on the ground.
Yep, Zilch calling it, unsurprisingly. That 300 hit shot to Kane would not have dropped him where he fully healed. You might be realizing that.
Oh, and switching the anchor here. I don't know about this.
I like it. I like it. I mean, Kane isn't your primary damage source, and you're already back rolling him anyway to try and keep him alive longer. Plus, Blink might actually miss on a Curse String Tella, and that's one of the last things you want to see here.
I'll have to math that out. A Curse Ring middle slot Tella versus non-Curse Ring, non-middle slot Tella.
Middle slot's a fair point that I hadn't considered, but I think someone in chat can drop us that answer real quick, whether a Tella at this level with Blink and a Curse String in the middle slot, what their chances are of landing.
Well, we can see Coffee is desperate for eking out any amount of damage. Actually was casting Berserk. But didn't get the chance because Tella went down.
Zilch with the eagle eye pointing out that Tella did miss a blink, and that cost Coffee and Chocobos the fight. So, there we have it. And the Berserk, partially for the damage, but also possibly to spam the queue, jamming actions through Evil Wall's actions and getting a little more time to menu in the spells.
Yeah, it's important for casters, and Frostbite, of course, also taking a wipe. I don't really see anybody coming into that fight without already knowing it's Evil Wall and getting through it. I think a wipe is unavoidable for any player here.
Yeah, it would be an impressive runner that, especially with this party, came up flat-footed against Evil Wall at King Queen Eblin and made their way through the first. Frostbite's not even going to beat his head against this literal wall. He's going straight to the bride.
We'll have to see whose strategy pays off. If it helps Frostbite get through without, because Coffee has now wiped 3 times on this fight, and that's quite a lot of time.
Yeah, knowing when to hold him and knowing when to fold him is really important as a runner. You can get in your head that you know the way through this and not always make that calculation of, yes, I can get through, but which is the faster? But Coffee and Chocobos takes the wall down and can move on to Rubicon. Well done.
Yeah, we're gonna see a save here for 100%. Oh no! Oh yeah, there we go. Definitely. I got so worried.
Calm down. Calm down. Coffee and Chocobos is not that much of a match. It's one thing to blaze, waltz through a Bahamut and go straight on to your fight. It's another thing to have gotten through an evil wall.
Now we're going to see how Coffee handles this with 2 really tough fights here. Gosh, I feel bad for our runners right now, legitimately.
They had a pretty easy overworld, and they know Ogopogo's out of the pool, so it's not all bad news. You also don't have to worry about a demist hunt.
Yeah, here come those quick menus for those Ice 2s and an Ice 3 from Tella to start off. That's a lot of damage. We think if all of this hits, this could be actually it for Coffee.
Looking at 25,000 in hit points here.
And that Palom already cast Virus. It's okay. He can go down.
We're looking at about 9,000 so far, 9,000 and change. Well, about a third of the way through. Working on it.
Yeah, and we can see Coffee even anticipating the situation and switch to Quake while he thinks that Cloak is going to be closed. This is really, really great play here.
Yeah. Heads up, being well aware of Rubicon's timing, landing the long Ice 3 cast as the Cloak opens and hitting with the safer spells as he closes, slapping some slows on this very fast Rubicante spot, really showing off some spell utility.
And the Cloak's open again, so here's the opportunity.
If the spells have been queued up. Oh, he's going to try and slip an ice to him before it closes. Well, there's the one. Almost 3k there. Do we have another one coming in? We do.
Yeah, the downside of Tele here, he's very slow, so you can't risk an Ice 3 unless it's the absolute first thing you do in the battle, because the Cloak will definitely be closed by the time he gets it off.
Yeah, the spell just has too long a charge time, regardless of who's trying to cast it. And the Glare takes out the old man. And just like that, Coffee and Chocobos casually through Rubicante. Makes it look easy.
Just a casual one-shot. And it looks like Frostbite is ready to go, has turned the battle speed down, so I'm thinking we'll be heading down to fight that evil wall now.
And if Frostbite's able to get through on the first go, or the first go after the grind, then he won't be too far behind. Could definitely still be a race. Underground is where we're going to get our divergence and see what's happening. Coffee and Chocobos finds dolls at the top of tower. That's a relatively free check, and it's absolutely free with Toad or with the Hourglass that Coffee is carrying around.
Oh yeah, with Quake online on both Palms already, it's GG to those dolls when we get up there.
Yeah, much easier than anything I thought.
Oof, and you can see Frostbite's party is so slow, has got 2 characters down already. No blinks to be seen, 3 down before any damage can be done. Yeah, you got to change the strategy there.
Did Frostbite find that curse ring? Possum pointed out how important that was for Coffee and Chocobos, and if Frostbite doesn't have it, we're seeing the impact right there.
Yeah, it looks like he has it, but he hadn't put it on.
Took it off for the grind and needs to put it back on.
Coffee showing us the Fey March. Check your freebies. That's an often said phrase in the community, and it's definitely true in this match for sure, especially where a pan is going to enable both an objective and a lot of key item checks for you. I feel like you got to go check and make sure it's not here at Fey March first.
Yeah, it's a great spot to find the pan. And looks more like a cursed ring now. We've had several actions queue up as Evil Wall has started marching, so we're back in business. We'll take any supplementary thermals. No.
It just goes to show that even here in the round of 32 of this tournament, with like some of the we get Darkness Crystal there from Fey March. That's not nothing.
It's not a pan, but you're not hating it one bit. D-Machine is now available.
And we already had the party, so that's very nice. If we find any more hard bosses, we can always just do the grind early. It sucks to do it without 10 key items, but unless we have to hunt quite a bit, I have a feeling we might not be seeing 10 key items tonight.
I think you're right. Fey March taunting. There's been an Ice Brand pickup in a chest and a Blizzard Spear for sale. Where were you 5 minutes ago? I ask you.
Always, always, always when you don't need it anymore. But it just goes to show, even here, where we have some of the best players that have fought and fought to get to this point in the tournament, that there are still boss placements that can give you a lot of trouble. And speaking of boss placements that can give you a lot of trouble, that's a Moon Boss and a Canasso in the throne room of Feymarch. That is one of the most mean spots for Canasso to be lurking.
If a path past Canasso leads to 2 key items, then that's another rude fight waiting Coffee and Chocobos after dealing with that evil.
I think I might have wanted to see which Moon Boss that was, to be honest. We've seen Ogopogo, but knowing that if that is, and we've seen Plague as well, but Pale Dim is still in the rotation, so it's nice to know if it's that or D Lunars there in the underground.
Yeah, it'd be nice. Although that Canasso, I think, just told Coffee and Chocobos, don't come back here until you have to. And also, Coffee and Chocobos did not have a safety save set up, so would have had to have walked out, then saved, and come back down for the peak. Apparently decided the time was not worth it. And if you don't see a sprite bouncing, there's only one possibility for this fight, and that's Antlion.
Yeah, it's just excellent. The All Mage party is not going to have any trouble here with Antlion. Usually you see Dwarf Castle a lot of the time because players want to see what the character is. It's like the last quick character check. But of course, Coffee's party's full, so is instead just wanting to come here to see if we can get a key item that will enable a double check somewhere. If we can get, a tower key or a Baron key, something that's going to unlock 2 locations.
Yeah, and Coffee and Chocobo is just trying to handle things a little bit efficiently here in terms of routing. He's underground and isn't prepared to leave until he's knocked out the checks that he feels he can take, even if they aren't strict.
Yeah, and the second boss here has a very little HP as well, so it's going to be pretty... unless there's a small handful of bosses, the second one could be, but otherwise, probably no danger here that Coffee will wipe here in Dwarf Castle.
Wyvern could be a rude surprise, and that's about it.
Meanwhile, Frostbite is through the evil wall, so we're going to get a little save here, and then hopefully we'll get through that Rubicon just as fast as Coffee did.
Good job, Frostbite, there. Right there. And if Frostbite takes a different path through Underground and some of the things that Coffee and Chocobos is spending time on doesn't pay out, we could be back to neck and neck. He's going to want to get that Darkness Crystal. Oh, speaking of free bosses and soft spots, and how about some more vanilla? King Queen Evelyn in the second spot. This is not a dangerous spot at all. So again, that disappointment of finding a very easy boss in a very easy spot. Vanilla Rydia, not that our characters can really appreciate, or runners can really appreciate the vanilla with
Yeah, it would be the height of seed irony if we were to find, like Leviathan, Bahamut, Sylph, all the good stuff. I know we've seen Sylph already, but give us all the good summons after Rydia is no longer a possibility.
That's just the way it goes sometimes.
That's just the way it is when you play some randomizers.
Ah, but don't you believe them? They used a glitch with 6 to 4 floors. I got nothing else. Oh, but we do have a Legend Sword in Dwarf Castle. That pays off.
Oof, that's going to enable Objective 1 for Coffee, and I got to assume he's going to go straight there after this. We get either 2s as well in Dwarf Castle. It's paying off. You might think, well, we don't have Cecil, so why do we need the Excalibur fast for? But the Kopu shop is also one of the only shops that can have kind of the halfway banished items from this flag set. So we can find Sirens here, which would enable different grinds other than the D machine that we were expecting.
Yeah, the stuff that in group flags that you first saw when you got underground, the tier 5 items, are now banished to Colquitt's shop. Your Bacchus, not so impressive for this party, but we wouldn't really sneer at hourglasses or even coffins.
All right, that does complete objective 1 for Coffee. We've seen it more and more in these table flags than we did in the group flags, just because you got to look more. The shop has more equipment than items. We're looking at elixirs, black robes, full moons. Of course, there's no edge. Samurai arrows. We're not really using any archers, but that armor going to be nice. Our twins were wearing leather armor, some of them still. So black robes are fixed in Free Enterprise. Of course, they are bugged in the vanilla game.
Yeah, and the sorcerer robe can be handed off to Horum, since she doesn't have any sort of stat booster. King Edgar Figaro Legend was Dwarven Jewelry. Luca handed it over after Dwarf Castle was defeated.
Now, I gotta say, Sealed Cave is one of the objectives of this match, and we have the Luca key in hand. The levels might not support it, but at this point, I am very tempted to go check that item and see, because if it's the pan, this is Dunsky.
And Coffee and Chocobos, check your objectives. The only normal reason to put off an objective is you can't deal with it. But as you pointed out, this party has a lot of magical tricks up its sleeve, and there are a number of bosses that, even though this is a past spot with some frightening magic power, this is still doable, depending on who's here. Even the dreaded Golbez, who's normally pretty horrific in this spot, you've got Tella on hand, and you could come in with a very tiny party and be ready for Starveils and avoid the paralysis.
You know, it looks like Frostbite is slowly getting through Rubicon. Has a Quake queued up, which could be the last or second to last spell as far as the damage goes. Double-digit Cure 4 from Tella. Really, Tella? Really?
First ring life. Pain Man damage is based on the attack of the location, I believe, Mr. Bus Driver. However, we've seen Pain Man up on Mount Ops, so that particular threat isn't waiting here. Wyvern would also be super. If I say enough rude things, then it's not really a commentator's curse if you say them all.
Well, that's a rabbit hole there with the Earth Crystal. It does give us access to the Troya Treasury, but also 2 character checks, which are useless to us now, and some cutscenes. So we'll have to see if Coffee decides to chase it. Really running out of places to chase otherwise. Going to have to do the first Sylph Bop is the only thing left down here, or Keyless Tower.
Free boss. We had not run out of free bosses yet, and this is why you check your objectives, because sometimes. Also, fight! Work! Fight!
Believe in yourself, Wark.
And be strong. And down goes the water rat. Coffee and Chocobos, just like that, knocks out a second objective. Just needs a Baron Key or a Pan to get the job done.
Yeah, so now it becomes, okay, making a routing mistake here, not mistake, but just making the wrong coin flip, can very quickly do a lead change, because when you only need 1 key item, if you make the wrong choice and your opponent makes the other, it pays off. Then you have a big problem. Now, luckily for Coffee, Frostbite is still fighting this Rubicante, so is a couple of checks behind here. What's the better Chocobo exclamation chat? Is it Wark or Quay?
I like work myself. Work, 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 work.
Frostbite is through Rubicon. We'll have to see where he goes next. Hopefully checks Feymarch first, gets that Darkness Crystal knowledge.
Yeah, Underground had such a wealth of good things. Darkness and Feymarch, Legend Sword, and Dwarf Castle. And of course, the Sealed Cave objective.
Smells like chocobos.
Depending on what I'm playing, I either need carrots or Gishel greens, or it varies. Final Fantasy is weird sometimes.
And there's Coffee with the check there, so we'll probably be going up to check Sheila 1, you know. Freebies are freebies.
Yeah, and that top of tower is relatively free, but not 100% free, and with the other item checks on the table, maybe you find a tower key on the way and make that a little more free.
Yeah, the interesting thing is if anybody gets the pan or the Baron key before we get to 10 key items, that's going to be some decision making. Do they keep chasing to see if they can get 10 before their grind, or do they grind right away?
I personally tend to grind right away unless I have something that's truly free. Sheila, Pan, Rat Tail, not anything where I'm going to have to fight.
Oh my goodness, it is the Baron key from Sheila 1. That's going to be Coffee going straight to Baron Castle to get this done. All the objectives will be complete here shortly that Coffee needs, and then we'll be heading on to grind.
And then go mode. Frostbite's heading to top of tower, and with everything we've seen Coffee and Chocobos do, the only way this really works out is if this is the pan. Because if it is, that's going to steer Frostbite directly to the Baron key, get that taken care of, and then all he'll have to do is run down and take care of the Sealed Cave, which we know is just a water hack.
Yeah, if this is not a pan for Frostbite, it's extremely bad news for Frostbite.
Yeah, it's just at some point you get divergence, and this is a perfectly reasonable call. You've got Quake, as you noted when we first got here. This is going to be a very free fight. Go ahead and knock it out. Also the sort of thing that another runner might not do right away, so if you grab it and it's of value, you might have that leg up.
Yeah, and Coffee needs the Baron key to pay off with a key item in order to get 10. You need a key item from here, and then of course the crystal that he's going to get from completing all the objectives will make the 10 that he needs before the grind. Otherwise, I think you're right, he's just going to go grind without 10.
Waiting on Quake for the dolls.
Yeah, actually didn't have enough MP, so I had to throw an ether out there.
Get a quick ether out there, but this spot doesn't know how to hurt anybody in terms of its ability to deal damage. So, not that big a deal.
And we're going to see quick work made of CPU as well.
Yeah, you could swag rock this if you wanted to, or you could just handle it much more traditionally.
Yeah, we can see Coffee's not even worried about the Globe. 99's just going to queue up 2 Quakes and hope that kills and don't have to worry about it as far as getting the party back up.
My only question was, would he need the second and have hit points to this location? The 2 Quakes will definitely get the job. And we have a vanilla tower key, which is always fun to see, because if you are the type of person that doesn't like to do keyless tower, you're never going to get into the super cannon.
And we'll have to see. The only boss that could be a problem here was Wyvern, and instead we get Dark Elf, which is going to be taken care of quite quickly by Frostbite.
Coffee and Chocobos is going to charge straight across the objective. The CPU didn't take much time. Makes perfect sense. And hello, Punch Mage. Karate Man himself.
Yeah, I feel like this is a little bit of a luck out here because the kicks from Karate don't deal that much damage. The single target damage is going to be not enough to one-shot any of the characters, and also Blink is a thing, so Coffee should have no trouble with this fight, really. We'll see if Frostbite gets further rewarded here. If this would be the pan, still a chance for Frostbite here.
Yeah, I was thinking the real kick in the teeth from the seed would be to put the pan right here in the Baron throw. That would just be...
I'm going to try to emulate the sound effect that kick makes. Is it like...
I don't know. Gambit, again, I wouldn't be feeling it, but, I mean, Baron throwing is right there. It's not a huge time loss to do that instead of walking out, so you might as well check. But beyond that, we'll see. Frostbite finds that tail coming out of the super cannon room and immediately runs to check.
Yeah, there's still a chance. This could pay off with a pan, or it could be nothing, or it could be one of all the other key items that we haven't seen yet.
That pan is really what Frostbite needs to find, because we've seen Coffee and Chocobos pick up everything else for Go Mode Underground. Legend Sword and the Baron. Yeah, just crystal gloves.
No! Frostbite just taking the wrong rabbit hole here and is going to have to go back underground to find the rest.
Yeah, the only good news is that it was not a horrible rabbit hole. It wasn't something like Twin Harp into... I don't know. There's not much left, to be honest. It wasn't Twin Harp. We would have loved that as chat just to see the music, but it's good news for Frostbite that it ended right.
And the only good thing here for Frostbite is Frostbite's guaranteed to have 10 key items by the time he reaches the same Go Mode that Coffee is in.
Yeah, and pretty much wherever Frostbite goes in the underground, things are going to turn up well, now that that tower's built. Dwarf Castle next door has Legend, and sure enough, that's where Frostbite's going. So we should see Frostbite hitting Go Mode in the same manner that Coffee and Chocobos did.
Meanwhile, we do find that Leviathan, who is the king of the summon monsters, has usurped the throne of the king of Baron. And unfortunately, Coffee did not heal after the last fight, so the regular wave, which only deals a quarter of your hit points, is actually going to kill 3 of his characters here.
Yeah, he's going to be okay. He's not quite going to be punished for this, I don't think. Even if this Ice 2 were to go after the Quack Kid right here and right now, I think he can get everybody. And either this spot has less magic than I give it credit for, or that Porum is wearing a protector.
Oof, yeah, casting a Thor Rage, which just dealt 1 damage on Leviathan there.
Minimum damage multiplied by weakness is still minimum damage.
And at this point, Coffee knows that the grind is incoming, so it doesn't really matter if his full party gets experience from this slot. And there's the Crumble Death. So gonna get through, and will be heading, is gonna have to go and grind no matter if he gets a key item here or not. I think at this point, he's got no choice.
Yeah, his options for finding another key item if this one comes up empty are to go through the Tower of Design. And also to go back up the tower, which we know would give a vanilla tower. So I don't think Coffee and Chocobos is willing to take that time on what may or may not pay off, but we will see.
I just want to point out, this is normally the cutscene where the twins would be turned to stone, quote unquote, forever, and it'd be very sad. But it turns out characters in Free Enterprise can just walk out of the room before the walls close in. I don't know why they didn't try that in the vanilla game.
I mean, they did. The doors were sealed shut.
Mr. Bus Driver pointing out, even though we had the Earth Crystal in hand, nobody has checked the treasury. And I doubt that Coffee will be checking it, in fact, because there's not much equipment that would actually make his Z fight faster. There's some armor that would make it safer, but at the levels that we're about to get, and how quick the Z fight's going to be, I don't know if you spend that time or not.
And sure enough, Coffee and Chocobos is going to save now and set up the minute. Can't run from encounters on this flag set, and that's been true all tournament. And so instead of going directly to the D Machine area to find your fight and run from encounters, you do all of your encounter setup in a safer area where you can meet the encounter, and then go find your D Machine.
Yeah, it's rather convenient both that the D Machine fight exists, how it does, and that we can figure out the RNG in this way, because otherwise the grinding options are vastly restricted, because this same manipulation also enables Mac Giant grinds and a variety of other single battle grinds that we may be looking for.
Yeah, basically if there's a single fight that you're looking to set up, then you can do it here. Someone might not have done the work for it just because of a lack of demand. But if you want a single dose of Warlocks on the Moon, there's a chart for that. If you want a single reaction grind, there's a chart for that.
Yeah, and this is a good time to mention, like, the community is very good about providing such information to everyone. We have a Newbies Corner channel in the Discord where you can find a crazy depth of information about the item tiers, what you can find in various seed settings, how you can get to grind fights, how they work, what to do, how to do this Aromas fight, how to set up your ATB for it, all sorts of stuff. And also that these flags are very, very advanced. You do not have to play the game in such a hard method when you come to the community, and you don't even have to race it. Plenty of people play Seeds of the Week or just seeds that they generate on their own and have just a fine time.
Yeah, and there's certainly something to be said for just picking it up and going at it. You don't need to time yourself, as most also saying. You don't need to race. Just take a flag set that looks fun. You can make your own or use one of the various presets and just give it a spin.
And I do believe here that Frostbite has forged, so got to look at that cocoa shop and is now gonna go do the sealed cave.
And we know what's waiting there, and we know what's coming up with this D Machine. So seems like a good time to thank Spape for handling restreams and rolling us this very challenging hook route for our runners, and Chasman for making all of the free buttons light up and making sure that everything that's supposed to be lit up is. Thank you both.
Now, this is then going to come down. So, Coffee and Chocobos is 100% in the lead right now. However, Frostbite still has a chance because what we're going to be seeing is reflect strats for Threemus, meaning we're going to be trying to skip the HP refill by bouncing spells off of our party so that Threemus does not get the chance to counterattack. And this requires some good timing and also some nerfed Big Bangs because your mages do not have the HP that your heavy armor users would have. Here, Coffee's showing off. You can see this is the right fight. You have a Searcher and 2 Beamers, the Beamers which also very conveniently deal HP-based damage. So you take the 2 Beamers out, and then it's either on this floor going to be summoning Centaurs or D-Machines. We're looking for the D-Machines.
I suspect when Coffee and Chocobos gets to Z with this Reflect Party that he's going to be hoping to only eat 1 nerfed Big Bang, which isn't unreasonable with 2 nuke casters. But as you pointed out, if you're a little slow on your inputs and you don't quite get there and that first unnerfed Big Bang comes through, then you can spend a lot of time trying to get yourself back together.
Yeah, and you also notice that Coffee still has Tella in the middle slot. There's 2 reasons for this. One, Tella has probably the worst agility in the party, so we'll be serving as our agility anchor for the rest of the game. That is based on the character in the middle slot under these flags when there is no Cecil in your party. And the middle slot also gives a very high boost to accuracy, and that means that Tella's going to guaranteed hit with the weak spell here, which is vital because if he happens to miss one, it can really put you off track and maybe even force a wipe if you kind of can't get your turns figured out and get the D-Machine killed.
And that's why it's Kane right now that's being healed by fire, courtesy of the first ring instead.
As we can see, very good management of the turn order here on Coffee's side, managing to get the alert, already have the fires queued up to get it right when the D-Machine spawns, hitting the Fire 2 right away, and already being able to life glitch the D-Machine. So this is all very deliberate action.
And now Frostbite's making the right moves. He's got 2 objectives down now that he's beaten the sealed cave and is on the way to Feymarch to pick up the Darkness Crystal, and that will set up the grind. And I imagine that he's not going to take too long to run Sheila 1 and get the bearing.
Yeah, I figure once you find that darkness and you just need the pan, you got to check your freebies, so Frostbite's gonna go do that, I'm pretty sure.
And it's just going to be a matter of retracing Coffee and Chocobos steps. Fortunately, the tower rabbit hole wasn't too punishing, and like you said, if Coffee's first Z fight goes a bit sideways, we could be right back at this.
And it's important to note, like, they both were going into the hook route pretty much at the exact same time. So every second that separates these runners right now is 100% just due to how nasty those bosses were, especially the evil wall and how they dealt with it. So it's crazy that just basically a single moment in the match could cause that difference.
Yeah, it was absolutely the actual boss fight of the season was Leviathan. I mean, Zeromus is Zeromus, and you should never take him for granted, but that evil wall was the boss of the season.
Looks like Frostbite is going down to hit Yang with nothing to enable the Shield of 1 check, which is going to send him right on to Baron. And Malasa has to see how many D Machines Coffee and Chocobos does, because the key here is we're looking for Nuke on Palom, and we're looking for White on Forum. That's really the minimum required for this strategy to be effective, but he may opt to go higher in order to make their HP total safe. The problem is for the twins, that means quite high levels. Their HP growth isn't great compared to Rosa, so in order for them to get into like the 2400 range, which we'd like them to be to survive fully rolled Big Bangs, they need to get quite a bit higher than we're used to seeing any characters grinded to for Z fights.
Yeah, and I don't expect Coffee and Chocobos to go that far. Granted, he needed a few tries to get through that evil wall and is probably feeling a little bit of pressure for that. Granted, that underground routing was flawless. Everything came up. No wasted checks, no wasted time. But still, I think you know what spot you want to go to, and that's Nuke and White, and you let it go there.
We would like to see some better rods in the hands of these Paloms. We got a Dancing Dagger for one Palom and the default rod on the other, default staff for Forum as well. So not looking great on the magic power front.
Just Stardust Rod or a Charm Rod in that treasury. I doubt we'll see the check.
Yeah, when you're when you're this deep into the tournament, it's a really big gamble to waste any amount of time. Can feel like a waste, even if it pays off.
And yes, Peter, I know a Lilith Rod was for sale at some point, and so there might be one of those floating around, but that might be it. Certainly not enough to go around forever.
There's that Baron key for Frostbite off of Sheila 1, so I can imagine he's going to be making a line straight to Baron Castle.
And Etar noting that 2 Lilith Rods have been purchased, which better than a base rod. Still. Not what you're hoping for to carry against it. But on table flags, when it comes to loot, you just take what you can get.
We are seeing the week now on the Searcher, which means Coffee is done and is ready to get out of this battle. Already had the virus queued up too. This is scraping every bit of time out of this grind fight. 20 levels, 21 levels. We're going to be seeing up to, there's the week, there's Meteo, there's Nuke. So looking like good to go.
And there's the white. So yes, we're set. Even going ahead and letting Tella get some HP, since first string is going to handle his agility. He can survive that first nerf Big Bang and find a couple of useful actions. Maybe bounce a virus.
Also taking the time to change the spell order so that you can just use the spell you're going to use without any extra menuing.
Yeah, I menu 10 times when you can just menu once. So, in the first place, Kane was not given MP. And in the second place, he doesn't know any spells. So, a big ol' can't use coming right at you. A quick click of magic on
Now we are seeing a little bit different strategy from Frostbite. It looks like Frostbite is setting up for the D Machine grind before he does Baron Castle. This is just a little bit of a hedge. Also, Frostbite had more key items at this point than Coffee did, so can do the grind now, and that way there's no risk that he'll wipe to the Odin spot.
Yeah, if you end up having to reset your game for whatever reason, then you don't get to keep your seed. The game generates a new seed and you have to redo the manipulation, but looks like Frostbite's going to put off that Baron check and just go straight to the grind now. The benefits, as you pointed out, of already being at 10 key items.
Yeah, I definitely like it because you don't know what's at the Odin spot, and just to get around the fact that it could be rude, you don't have to worry about it. And I am seeing Z flags in the chat, which means it's time for a certain phrase we like to say, usually not at this time of day, but do you want to do the honors, Commander?
Well, normally we say, ooh, but are we going to kick tonight? No, unless you're in Australia. It's not.
That's right. We do have random Threemus sprites. We don't want to randomize the final battle as far as what boss is here. So instead, we randomize what the boss looks like. So we will be seeing the Crystal Throne, which normally changes as Threemus to his very, Final Fantasy-esque final form. But instead, we're going to get to see a sprite from perhaps a different game.
Yeah. At this moment, over 460 options, most of which done by our amazing artist, Scala Kitty. And it's a joy to see which one comes up each time. Aye! It's Isimus.
So this is Threemus' cousin, Isimus. A little bit of googly eyes pasted on there. And look how cute. Those counter nukes just look cuter for some reason with this sprite.
I fought Isimus before, and I'm really just not comfortable being stared at.
You gotta like it. There are several Threemus, we would say, variants in the pool, so have fun finding those on your own.
Yeah, I'm sure there are some that I haven't seen. There's just too many of them.
Meanwhile, Frostbite has found the Searcher 2 beamers, so this is very likely to be the D Machine fight.
So we casually mentioned flex traps. So let's talk a little bit more about this as this fight goes. Threemus has far more hit points than the game allows, or at least the creators wanted Threemus to have more hit points. So there's a moment in the script where Threemus completely refills his HP. However, it's treated in the script as a counterattack, which means that you have to hit Threemus directly to trigger it. So CoffeeAndChocobos is using a lot of reflected damage to avoid that part of the script, and therefore is going through a lot less hit points than he would otherwise have.
Yeah, and this is why you'd think that using this strategy would be slower because of the added spell animations, but it's actually faster than using Berserk strats, unless you have a full 5 Berserker party. On Frostbite screen, we're also seeing a little bit of a heads-up play, is using the Dancing Dagger as an item in order to kill the D-Machines. That just ensures that there's no mistakes and that the Palom that he's using doesn't miss.
And as you said, reflect strats are fast. Coffee and Chocobos is through and has picked up his second win in this stage of the table. GG. Well done. Official time 1:26:27.
And just like that, we are joined by Coffee and Chocobos for our customary post-match interviews. At Coffee, GG's, and what'd you think about that hook route?
Thank you very much. And yeah, that hook route, I knew when I saw that either Ruby or Elements was hanging out at the Ruby spot, it was going to be a little vanilla flavor and not too terrible with the mage setup I had. But as soon as that evil wall popped up, I said, "Oh, we're in for a few resets here." That is not a pleasant boss, no matter what team you take to it, unless you've gone and leveled completely up. That guy hits hard.
And right after you committed to that full mage party as well, which luckily Frostbite also took the same party as you, so had quite a bit of trouble with that evil wall.
You know, it doesn't. I don't think it matters too much whether or not you take a melee team, unless you've got a backroad Cecil that can cover all of those hits, because he's gonna knock out your front row fighters in a single hit. And even Kane took he could barely stand up to a hit in the back row.
Yeah.
So,
But
I think if you hadn't had Tella, that would have been a real hard thing to get through. You would have been racking your brain on that.
yeah, between Tella and Porum already having Blink, I was able to finally get a good dice roll, get Blinks up on the Palums, and start chipping away with the zero delay virus to kind of push back his chain turns a few ticks, and ultimately won that battle of attrition.
yeah, but you got underground and your checks just came up roses straight through. Is that normally how you'd approach an underground, sticking with underground longer, or was there something in the objectives and what you had that made you want to keep checking things up?
So as long as I had the Luca key, I knew I needed to get. Well, I mean, I guess I didn't have to get XP on the Palums to get Warp since I had Tella, but I figured I might as well level up a little bit just in case there was a mean Luca boss. I wanted to knock that out and then try to inch my way up towards 10 key items before I did that grind, finding the Darkness Crystal in the Freebie and Fey March. So no, I wouldn't normally do that Dwarf Castle spot, but I am very grateful I did.
Yeah, it definitely paid off, and wasn't that rude for you with the party you had? Antlion followed by King Queen Edlin. Yeah, not an issue. Oh, wow. Sorry, just watching your spoiler log, and I just saw where the pan was. That's some rudeness. It was behind Kainazo.
Yeah, I looked at that as soon as I saw it come across my feed. I was like, ugh, I dodged a bullet there, and I also dodged a bullet not going to grind as soon as I saw darkness and then taking on the moon. Moon's haunted.
Yeah, that several traps there. This seed could have been so much ruder if any other part, if Sheila, the pan check, or Sheila 2 was holding any other part.
Oh yeah, and I was hesitant to do Sheila 1. I thought maybe I would take on those dolls in the top of tower to see if I could get a key item or get that pan or the Baron key from that, but I'm glad I stuck with the freebies. This was definitely, aside from that evil wall, this was a freebie chain seed.
Yeah, it did turn out that the dolls at the top of tower had the tower keys, so Frostbite was at a key item advantage over you for a little bit, but because he was already behind going into the underground, it kind of ended up a wash for him.
Yeah, after I took on the Odin spot, I went and rolled the dice on the Baron throne, and I almost made a major oopsie there with the Leviathan big wave.
Yeah, I saw the no heal, but luckily your Kane still had most of his HP, so you managed to get through that.
Yeah, and Porum had a protect ring, so even with life potion, she had enough health to stand up to an ice 2.
Yeah, you were mentioning that, weren't you, Commander? You said, man, there's got to be a protect ring on that.
Yeah, I saw that 77 damage, and I'm like, either this spot doesn't hit the way I think it does, or somebody's wearing a protect ring. Keep your white mages alive, folks. It's a good plan.
Speaking of keeping people alive, how about that invincible cane during the D Machine grind?
Right? Love that curse rig.
Yeah, having a spare or one that you can move off of Tella with the Dragoon gear is super cool. I'm going to keep that in mind going forward. It kind of hit me as I was moving the equipment around.
Yeah, it definitely makes it safe now. Of course, this deep in the tournament, all of you are making the D-Machine grind look super easy, but it's easy to forget that it actually is a fairly risky strategy. Like, if you mess up your turns, then all of a sudden you're eating lots of flames.
Oh yeah, or somebody jumps a turn and melees before the week goes off, and all of a sudden everybody's face down.
Yeah, I've seen people blink their telos just to avoid that very specific scenario. But you are now 2-1. You're making your way through this initial round. It depends on how things turn out, but 4-2 is a typical mark that I think most runners are aiming for to try and move on. Who do you have up next?
I kind of lost track of how everything was arranged.
All right, well, I can look at who you have. I just don't off the top of my head. Looks like you still need coffee. Looks like you've got gaming with a Wraith and Mecha and McBain still on the menu at some point. Looks like they've all been scheduled, but I don't see the times myself.
Yeah, I don't want to say that I'm confident because everybody is extremely dangerous in this round, but if I play like I did today, this is probably what I feel is the most complete seed that I've run so far in the table round. I think I get a good shot.
Cool. Well, thank you for coming by the restream today. And anything else you want to say about this seed or the tournament itself before we get back to Frostbite's play?
No, I'm just having a good time. Thank you very much, commentator team and the restreams and trackers. Everybody is putting on some dynamite shows, and all of our erasers just seem to be one-upping each other with dramatic finishes. I won't spoil anything, but definitely everybody's got to go back and watch the VODs for this one if they missed even a single moment. It's been super exciting.
Couldn't agree with you more. Thank you for putting on the show, and good luck in the rest of your races.
All right, thank you. Take care.
Now we're back to Frostbite, who is now done with the grind and in Baron Castle making quick work of the karate with the full-powered mage party here. We did see a nice quake on CPU, which I saw in chat mention, oh, you can hit. It seems like you shouldn't. Yeah, the floating graphic and the floating status are two different things in this game. So, for instance, Mylon Z is actually floating, even though he doesn't look like it, and even though he's the Fiend of Earth, that was the only way they could figure to program him to make him immune to Quake, which he should be since he's the Fiend of Earth. But that is the last objective for Frostbite. Frostbite getting his crystal, and we'll be heading to Threemus now because the grind is already completed. So just to show, even with all that trouble on the hook route, Frostbite was still not that far behind here, just entering the Z fight probably 10 minutes after Coffee got done.
Yeah, probably. And it'll probably be about a 15-minute difference, and that's not that big a thing on this fight. 15-minute on this sort of a seed. Really just a expansion of the Coffee getting to the hook route a little quicker, getting through it quicker, and not making that tower check is really about where all that 15 minutes is. In the grand scheme of things, not much.
And Coffee mentioned this in the interview, but it is pretty fortunate that Frostbite didn't get thrown off by the same potential rabbit hole of the moon. It would have been very easy to say, well, the math says the moon has tons of key items remaining up there, and if you faded literally anything, if you faded anything here on the planet in order to play the odds on the moon, you would have been punished severely, like probably about 20 or 25 minutes of punishment.
Yeah, I was speculating with Coffee about the rudeness of putting part of Go mode behind the pan, but it would have been just as rude to tuck one of those items on the moon. I saw Bygone at a value, and that's not pleasant. If a moon trip had been required in the seed, that also could have made things very difficult.
We get the very little seen whale flying to Troya. So thank you, Frostbite, for giving us that swag.
Yeah, very nice.
So Frostbite had an extra Soma drop that he never used too.
Hey, there you go. Give Kane NP. But on that subject you're talking about when you get the Darkness Crystal, that is often the big question. Do I go to Earth or do I go to Moon? And I think our runners were guided by two principles here in Free Enterprise that we repeat over and over. I know we've said them. Check your freebies, check your objectives. All of those things kind of kept the runners grounded on Earth. And between the objective for Luca Key and the Sheila 1 freebies, it took care of business. But it would have been a perfectly reasonable move to fade Dwarf Castle and go after the moon, and that would have been terrible.
Oh yeah, that would have been super gross. But at some point you would see, it feels bad if you've gone up to the moon and you're going all the way through the bosses up there and you see a dot done and you think to yourself, oh geez, that had to have been Dwarf Castle. Like there's no other way they could have got done.
The thing is, once you're up on the moon, it's so hard. And it's wouldn't be a hard thinking myself as a runner, because even when you get to the moon, you have to answer that question, top down or bottom up. And if I'm working my way through one of it, I might just think that my opponent also went to the moon and did it in reverse order. So, yeah.
Meanwhile, we see Frostbite is now in the Zeromus fight. Kane looking pretty beefy. Will be able to be throwing items as far as needed. We did see some curative items here. I didn't see a stack of Cure 3s, but I don't think it's going to be necessary for Frostbite here. Instead, we're just going to see probably Tella go down if we see a second Big Bang, and the rest of the mages just rolling those spells.
Yeah, and Kane's in the right spot for a Starveil user. You like the person in that spot to be able to take some sort of action while the crystal's being queued up, and the cursor lands in the top position when you move it back over to your party for bouncing spell.
Yeah, it's just a little bit of efficiency of your menuing there, so it is nice to see Frostbite taking advantage of that.
Yeah, you've got your menu efficiency, and also you avoid the horrible case, which I've done on times, of just missing your target and nuking somebody that really did nothing. But yeah, just firing away with the spells. Plenty of time to work around to Kane, who is probably going to be the one in charge of the Silk Web here.
I hear that Kane with MP deals more reflect damage. That's just what I heard. I don't know if it's true.
I think what I'm hearing from you is that the Give Kane MP crowd is stepping up their propaganda.
Unfortunate counter nuke there onto Palom. Would have liked to have seen it hit Kane, but you can't win the dice roll 1 out of 5 every time.
No, you can't, and that means that if a heal doesn't slip in there before the Big Bang comes through, then we're going to need to revive Palom and get him back on nuke duty. White's doing decent damage, but it's got a slow charge time. It's really the double-barreled nukes that are giving this party a very good chance of getting through without seeing Big Bang.
Yeah, the only good thing here is that counter nuke was due to a hard cast onto Zeromus. That was on purpose in order to the whole point of it was to trigger that counter nuke in order to make the Big Bang deal less damage. The way the damage script works, Zeromus sets his spell power high for Big Bang because it's supposed to be his ultimate attack, but in between when he does that and when he actually casts it, you can force him to counter with a nuke, And part of that script is to set the spell power low so that the nuke doesn't outright kill a party member with the Big Bang spell power. So you basically set the spell power low, the Big Bang still goes off with that lower spell power, and that's what's enabled Tella to still be alive, which has been quite useful for Frostbite.
Yeah, perfect explanation. The timing, other than the first Big Bang, the timing is really tight. You can theoretically do this with every Big Bang in the fight, but there's that invisible moment that Motos was talking about where the spell power gets set. If you fire the attack in between the shake and that set, you're going to miss your nerf.
But with that, Frostbite is done with a time of 1 hour, 41 minutes, and 53 seconds. GG's to Frostbite. That was a hard-fought match, and it's gonna be a treat to see the rest of Frostbite's matches here, needing to really work uphill for the rest of this round.
Yeah, but as Coffee and Chocobo said, anyone that's gotten this far has already put on a good show to make it, and I would not count Frostbite out for the rest of it. Without a doubt, very easily pick up what's needed to make it onward. And speaking of which, we're here with Frostbite. GG.
Thanks, Commander Leonhardt. GG's to CNC Coffee and Chocobo's awesome run. Yeah, thanks for the kind words. I kind of snuck in you talking me up at the end. I'm not sure I'd bet on myself because there's so many other tough runners in this thing, but I think it went okay for me. I feel like I'm probably like most people that after I finish, I write down. Like, I actually write down because I'm old and I don't type well, like the errors that I've made. And man, I made so many dumb errors in this one. It's a little frustrating. But then again, that evil wall was always going to be horrible. And yeah, I'm not unhappy with how this one went out. 2 for 2 in finishing, though. I'm happy with that, even though I'm 0 for 2 in the win department.
Yeah, I mean, that evil wall was gross, but I mean, it's not like CNC didn't also wipe a ton to it. So
yeah. Well, that's why did he skip the tower, or did he do Keyless Tower as well?
He skipped it.
Touch the tower.
Yeah. See, that was my guess. Yeah, so let's start with from the top. I think I made a tactical mistake at the beginning when I think it was really smart to go into the hook. I always like to go in there in these flags to find out, is it a boss that I feel I can take at a lower level, or is it something that I want to absolutely last locate? And I saw the Rubicon sprite there, and I was like, this is not terrible, but I ain't taking it at level 15, you know what I mean? So when I saw that, I should have filled out my party immediately, because having the extra bodies was going to help in that fight. And because I had Palom and Porum already, I in my mind, I'm already committing to a full grind on those two with the Tella. So it's not like I have 2 blank spaces and I can slingshot 2 mages and keep a 3rd mage at mid levels for the end game, and frankly at my skill level hope for the best in the Z fight. So I feel like as soon as it was the hook came, I should have just got the 5 party members in my team right away, and that would have saved me a bunch of time on the issues I had at the Baron Inn, because I just wiped there because I didn't have enough characters in my team, basically, right? Then the second thing was I was a little slow in figuring out what the strategy was for Eagle Wall. I think my strategy was okay, I just have to get Blink. But then I got greedy in the next fight and I wasted a wipe by trying to just Berserk Kane, when in retrospect you just have to blink your characters and get lucky, frankly, because he punched my Blink characters twice when there were 4 characters unblinked, and I'm pretty sure either one of those would have wiped me. And then I messed up the Ruby fight. I don't know what it is, man, but I get confused with the strategies between Rubicon and Element, even though they're not the same. So I pop the Star Veil, and I'm reflecting spells, and I'm thinking, this is the wrong boss, you genius. You just hit this guy directly. And then I didn't estimate my spell powers accurately. I should have bluffed my Paloms a couple times, maybe even, to get much higher Quakes. And that would have saved me a bunch of time there. And then, I'm happy with how the rest of it went, basically, because I made the tower play because I figured, not only did I lose time there, but I it could have been a whole bunch of time if he got through there cleanly. Not that I figured, anyone's walking up that evil wall first time and beating it. That seems ridiculous. But yeah, I don't know. I'm pretty happy with it. And unfortunately, the Darkness Crystal was in the free spot right there, and I avoided it to sort of probably add to the delta a little bit in the end game.
I don't disagree with anything you said, but at the same time, don't beat yourself up too much over this.
Oh yeah.
There are so many factors to keep up with you when you're trying to run these. The party you've got, the routing you're taking against. You come up against the boss flat-footed and have to generate a strategy on the fly. It's not easy.
Oh yeah, no, dude. I don't say any of this. Like I strive for perfection in these things, right? Like I write down the little notes, right? Like what do I have? I had Talum and Porum mixed up in my first fight against Antlion. That cost me a little bit of time. I forgot to put the Protect Ring on. That cost me some time. I picked up a Sorcerer Robe apparently at some point because I saw that in my inventory at the end game. I forgot to take the Curse Ring off Tella for the D-Money grind, so that got a little bit nuts. But then that Hermes item saved me. It put my order back in, so at least I salvaged that one. I forgot to heal twice, which cost, that's just a quick reset, but those things add up, right? So, like, obviously, I'm happy. I'm super happy with how that run went, but if you want to be at the top level in the game, and I kind of do, that's why I play these competitive randomizers, you kind of have to take note of all those really small things and make improvements on them. So I may sound like I'm really beating myself up, but like I said, I'm incredibly happy with how that run went. CNC is an amazing runner. I'm not under any illusions about going into this race. I've done asyncs and seed of the weeks with him, and he beats me almost every time, and he's really awesome. So there's no shame in taking the loss here. And yeah, I just like to look at all these little things so that the next time I come up in that exact scenario, maybe I'll just be able to get into that strategy rather than having to think about it. Because as a newer runner, I feel like that's one of the biggest things I notice when you watch like the absolute peak people, your Penguinators or Invenerables, like they're able to they get into a scenario and they instantly know what to do, and that's what I'm seeking for. So I like to take notes and try and improve for the next time.
Yeah, I did notice you bought those Hermes, which I don't see very often when I'm watching matches, and it did pay off for you. I was actually had that on my list to ask you about because I hardly ever see anybody buy Hermes items.
Yeah, I don't know. I read about it sometime in the newbie channel, maybe a couple months ago, and I've found that you can save a bunch of time by having your characters stay in the right turn order, and a lot of the time the slowpoke is Tella. So I'll buy a Hermes sandal almost every time if I have the disposable income, just so I can pop it on him to salvage it, because it does save a little bit of time, I feel. So because I've been really trying to focus on that D machine grind and how to do it as efficiently as possible, because it's it's likely to come up in probably 35 to 50 to 60% of these seeds. So if you can do it as efficiently as possible, that's awesome. And I found that when my turn order gets out of mess, it's not fun. You end up that's when you end up wiping, right? I almost wiped here. If he'd have hit my Tella, I could have been in big trouble when I messed it up. But no, I'm happy to salvage it. And yeah, Hermes Sandal's surprisingly effective item. I think it's a sandal, right? Am I making that up? I read that somewhere, I feel.
And I do see on
some game.
Okay. I do see on your screen you're showing us the Troya treasury there. He went in and found the heroin robe and stuff just to kind of show off, because both of you skipped it. We didn't get to see it during the match at all.
Yeah, I figured that. I also made a trip down to our friend in Tomra as well, who is I feel like this is a Mad Lib and it's not a real job, photographic equipment mechanic.
Say that 3 times fast.
Exactly. Yeah, I'd say 3 out of 10. Probably could have been a reasonable treasury if you'd had a melee party, but melee parties are high risk in these seeds because the equipment's kind of trash.
Yeah, and no Bacchus really usually to find either, so
yeah, exactly.
I definitely get that. Anything else you want to say about the seed before we get going and send the viewers to our next race?
Nope, I've spewed on long enough. Just want to give a big thanks to you two, Commander, and Motas for doing the comms. I'm definitely going to watch it back because you were 2 of my favorite to listen to. Yeah, shout out to Smithy for setting it up and Chaz for doing the tracking. And again, once again, GG's to CNC. He's a great runner. And yeah, I'm going to come back, I think, next Wednesday maybe is my next match. And I'll be darned if I can remember who it is against, but gonna win that one, that's for sure. Take care, guys.
Thanks, Frostbite, and thank you for those kind words. And
we do
Commander,
check.
yeah.
Thank you, Frostbite. I was hoping.
And it looks like we will be sending our viewers on to the next match, which happens to be Slippery versus Aizen Tayama over on the Randomania channel. So remember, do not spoil this match. A lot of people are going back and watching these later. Don't let them know how this one went, but definitely enjoy your incoming match.
Why am I not more? There. It was Fisherman's Horizon. I gotta go over to his stream. I gotta go hear that.